ragazzi. Welcome to the Interworldwide podcast, where we're going to be covering everything Inter from our latest results to doing a mid-season review, our future fixtures, and we're going to cover a bit more and see where the conversation takes us. I've been given the honor of hosting today's podcast, and thank you, Anthony, who is joining us today. So thank you, Anthony.
No worries, brother. Take it away.
And all the way from San Francisco, pulling a late night for us tonight is Alessandro. How are you, mate?
I'm good. I'm kind of recovering for a flu, but that's what the season brings. But I'm here with you. It's a pleasure, and thank you, Bruno, for hosting.
No problems. All right, we're going to go straight into it. Inter finished the first half of the season with a 1-1 draw against Atalanta. We're going to go straight into it and just go into what do you guys think. I will start with you, Anthony. I know Ale is very passionate about this, so we'll leave most of the talking to him. But Anthony, what do you think? What's the result mean for Inter, and do you think they're going to bounce back?
Yeah, it was a little bit frustrating, of course, to hold the lead for what was it, 75 or so minutes. But Inter were the second best team on the day, and to be honest, we probably didn't even deserve a point. I do see it as 2 points dropped because, as I said, when you're leading with only 15 or so minutes to go, you always think that you're able to protect those points. But at the end of the day, dropping points to Atalanta, the most formed team in the country, I don't really see it as a setback that is going to plague this team. I see it as a setback on the same level as the setback to Barcelona or the first loss to Juventus or the elimination to Barcelona in the Champions League. These are tough matches where you can really tell where Inter needs to improve. We're only halfway through the first season under Conte. This is a Gasparini-oiled machine that has taken, a long time to get to this point. They're in their fourth season now together, a lot of these players. So a lot of them, it's just parts of the machine that have finally fallen into place. So the result for me still bears a positive outcome and all eyes on Lecce, to be honest. Alessandro, how was your experience with Atalanta, mate?
Well, it was very frustrating, and I hated the second half, most of it. The first part of the game was fine. I mean, we got a quick lead, and everything seems like okay. We can actually win this game, and then we just stopped playing, and that's something that I have never seen uh, this team do so much, because the second half of different games were like bad, but this one in particular, it didn't even look like a Conte team. It looked like we were back to Mazzarri or something really really bad. And yes, in my opinion, Mazzarri team was really really bad. Oh, the board, you know, at that level. I don't know. We were just waiting and waiting, and our defense is strong, but against maybe one of the best attacking team of Serie A, uh, we were able to hold for like 70 minutes, 75 minutes, and then we had to give up, and we were lucky to have drawn the game and not lost, because if they give a penalty on the Lautaro contact, then I don't think. I think that's it. We lose the game and that's it. But other than the point, 1 point, 3 points, it's just what happened in the whole team. You know, there was a lack of concentration, and Lukaku was isolated in the front, and everybody was back trying to defend, and Atalanta was everywhere. And it was so frustrating. This team this Inter is something that I don't want to see again in this Serie A, because again we played bad second halves in Champions League, and I'm fine with that. But in Serie A, that never happened. We lost one game, and uh, and we know how. But this game, uh, with Conte team, like with a Conte performance, this is something that we can win. And so yeah, I'm really disappointed. I can go on and on, but please, Bruno, uh, what do you think?
Look, I'm looking at this result as a positive. As Anthony mentioned earlier, Atalanta are the informed team of the Serie A at the moment. They defied all odds. They qualified for Champions League last year. They defied all odds, being last in the group after losing their first three Champions League matches, qualifying to the next round of Champions League. Something that has given them momentum, something that has given them absolutely everything they've needed to advance throughout the Serie A. Now, you look at it like this. Inter were missing Barella, who had just come back from injury, picked up a yellow card in the last match against Napoli, and was suspended for this match. We're missing the heart and soul of our defence for the last couple of years. Skriniar, who also picked up a yellow last match and was suspended for this match. But look at it like this, and you can you can argue against the point, but after 19 games, Atalanta scored 49 goals. Their last two games, they have scored 10 goals, 5 goals in each game, and they've been an attacking unit. Now, we got out there, Martinez scored that early goal, and I thought, beautiful, we're not going to lose this. Um, I wish Inter Atalanta were awarded a penalty for the Martinez apparently leg grab. I'm not going to speculate there, but if the penalty was awarded, Inter would have changed their dynamic for the rest of the game. It would have been 1-1 if they converted. That is, it would have been 1-1, and Inter's dynamic would have changed. Conte's speeches would have changed. Substitutions would have been different. In saying that, we had two men of the match performances, one being Martinez, who was up and down that pitch the whole game, and two being Handanovic, who saved the penalty. I'm not going to say it was the greatest penalty, but he still saved it and kept us within the point. Looking back, if this was last season, I do remember the first time we played Atalanta. I think we got belted 4-1. So looking back, it's an improvement from where we've been. So I can't complain with that because because we've learned this season to expect so much from the team. Of course, it's going to be disappointing, but against the competition on the day, since he looked a bit rusty, he had some glimmers of hope, but coming back from injury, that's what you've got to expect. But look, 1 point is better than no points, but like always, never as good as 3 points. We finished the first half of the season 2 points behind the lead with Juventus. I think we should just leave it at that. We've got Cagliari in a midweek fixture.
Can I add one quick thing?
Of course.
You mentioned Andanovic and Lautaro. I would like to mention also Bastoni, because in my opinion, was at that level was one of the best on the pitch. And if it wasn't for that penalty, that I don't know, it was kind of generous, probably to compensate the one before or something like that. But I don't know. But if you take that episode aside, he was one of the best on the pitch, in my opinion. And this guy is so young, but it looks very professional, and I don't know. I don't know. I have very very good vibes for this player, and I hope that Conte, De Vrij, Godin and Skriniar can make this player like a very, very, very good prospect for us.
Yeah, definitely. And we've seen in the past Inter getting rid of players too soon. Most recently is Agnolo. We regretted it instantly, but now he is out for the season with a torn ACL. So, look, let's not focus on the past and let's look to the future. We've got two fixtures coming up, one after another. We've got our first Coppa Italia entry of the season, our first Coppa Italia fixture of the season, and it is against an out-of-form Cagliari. I'm going to emphasize on out-of-form. They have lost their last four fixtures, and it hasn't been pretty. Most recently, they lost to AC Milan, who, again, have not been too informed themselves, but they lost 2-0 to AC Milan, 4-0 to Juventus, 2-1 to Udinese, and 2-1 to Lazio. They also drew 2-2 to Sassuolo before that, but they have had a tough run, playing first, third, and the other teams aren't that good, so we're not going to mention them. But they are out of form. Anthony, what do you think Conte is going to do with our players this game? Is he going to use the youth? Is he going to use this as a platform to not injure any players? What do you think our chances are?
You'll definitely see some changes in the starting lineup from Atalanta, especially because we've got Lecce as well. The Lecce game is very, very important. I can't stress that enough. We'll talk about it soon. But I expect some wholesale changes to the team. I expect Bastoni to stay. This is a great game for him to pick up momentum. Skriniar was suspended and therefore has no fatigue issues. So I expect him to actually be back in the defensive lineup. And De Vrij seems like one of those players where if he's fit, you play him week in and week out. Although I wouldn't be surprised to see Ranocchia get put in the side. Actually, to be honest, it's our first Coppa Italia fixture of the season, and everybody knows that when he's called upon, as of late, he can still do a job. So for me, back three is Bastoni, Ranocchia, and Skriniar, and I have a lot of faith in that. I definitely also expect Lazzaro to return to the starting side for this match and offer some really, really good pace on the right-hand side, which is going to expose Cagliari. They look pretty tired at the moment. So Lazzaro, perfect game for him to come in my opinion. And definitely one of the strikers has to be rested for this game. There is no point playing both Lukaku and Lautaro in this one. I think Esposito has a great chance here to get some minutes under his belt. You probably see a cameo at some sort of time, maybe even for Alexis Sanchez, if he is fit enough to get that, that first 10 to 12 minutes on the pitch that Conte seems to love to give those players before they actually return to give a proper half game. You always see that. Other than that, if I'm pretty sure Borja Valero's fit, so if that's the case, he'll probably start as well. I don't expect Barella to play, even if he is supposedly fit enough. I don't expect him to play maybe on the bench. And Sensi and Brozovic, I'm not too sure which one of them makes up the midfield. But in terms of result, I do think we win. I think Cagliari are deflated. I think because being the home side, we'll have that advantage. And I just think the boys want to respond from the weekend best way possible. And even though you don't really look at this competition seriously until you're in the semi-finals or so, it's still, it would be nice to get a trophy under our belt. So I'm looking forward to it tomorrow. I predict we win the game 3-0.
Ale, what do you think?
Well, I don't have that much to add. Anthony did a very complete analysis, and I completely agree. Maybe 2-0 instead of 3-0. But yeah, I completely agree with all the players, and Cagliari in this moment is not playing the best football, as you said. Lost 4 and they draw the one before. They are going down and down every week. So hopefully we can pass this tour without any problem, any injury, and focus on Lecce.
Thanks, mate. Look, I think that we're playing Cagliari very quickly in succession. We play Cagliari, Lecce, then we face. I think it's Cagliari again, to be honest. So it is a chance for Conte to use his squad and utilize those players who don't get much time. Yeah, like you said, Anthony, I can't see both our strikers starting. I honestly think that Lukaku does deserve a rest. It was Martinez who picked up the 5 yellows prior to that, so I think he's had a bit of a rest. Let's give Lukaku that rest. Esposito needs that game time. He's not that terrible. He's actually very good. So it's not like we're downgrading too much. Again, Alexis Sanchez, I do see him making that cameo. I could see it being a 2-0, 3-0 win. It would not surprise me if it goes 2-0 and we're on the defense for the rest of the game, to be honest. I don't want to see any injuries being picked up in a tournament so early on, especially when we've got the Serie A, which we are currently fighting for. Anyway, we then return to the Serie A for the start of the second half of the season against Lecce, who we beat 4-0 last time. And it was a beautiful performance. We were all dumbfounded. We were all shocked when we played them in the first game of the season, at the start of this season, that is. But we faced them, and I'm quite positive, to be honest. I am very positive. But you just got to look at their team at the moment, and you look at their fixtures as of late. They lost this morning, Australian time, that is, to Parma. So it will be very interesting to see how we go against them. They have taken points away from Juventus this season, which was extremely surprising. But I'll go to you this time, Ale. Lecce coming up. What do you think the result's going to be, and how do you think we're going to go about getting that result?
I think we should win. I think we have to win, and probably it's not gonna be a beautiful performance. It's gonna be a tight fight between us. Lecce is not the best in terms of quality, but they put a lot of quantity in the fight, and we saw that against Juve. They never give up. So I think we should win just because of the quality we can we can play with. So other than that, I'm not really sure of the situation of the players, if anybody's injured or suspended in the Lecce team, honestly. But at this point, I'm not worried. I'm more focused on our team than to the opponent, especially for a team like Lecce. No disrespect, but we are at the level that we should focus and be worried with just few team, and the rest we should be able to handle. Said that, Anthony, what do you think? You agree?
Yeah, I would agree. I think we will have the quality, and I think it's a game where you'll see some players come back and really give it a large chunk of their quality and quantity for the first time. I think that'll be a game where Sensi's warmed up, Barella's ready to go, Brozovic is there to complete the first starting game for those three together, and it'll be a game where we click sooner rather than later, hopefully, because these are the games that, now that we're in the back end of the season, these are must wins. These are the sort of games where you slip up and then the first thoughts of, okay, maybe we're not going to be able to challenge Juventus creep in. Every game from here is almost a must win for me, unless, of course, Juventus drop points, at least up until we get into the game in Turin. So, moral of the story is beat teams like Lecce the way we were beating teams like Lecce in the first half of the season, and we have nothing to worry about. Lukaku, Martinez, they're ready to go again. One of them will score, both of them will score, one of them will score more than one, both of them might score more than one, who knows? But that's a game where we get 3 points comfortably, simply because we have to. Bruno, you, man?
Oh, look, I agree. I can't see there being too much of an issue. Teams like Lecce and teams who sit towards the bottom of the table like to stick 11 people behind in their own half just to simply just defend. They get 1 point against a team like Inter. You saw what happened against Juventus. It means a lot to them. And I think the way we've been going at the moment, we've been getting these early goals, we've been pushing pretty hard, and I just can't see that changing against a team like Lecce. I can see a replica of the first half of the season, maybe not 4-0, maybe 3-0, but I don't think there's too much to worry about. Then again, it all could change with the result against Cagliari, and it could also change with players if there's any injuries, because we know what Inter's like. We don't like to have a fully fit squad at any point in time. So that is how it stands at the moment. But yeah, we'll move on. We have completed the first 19 matches of the season. We are currently sitting on 46 points. Only have lost one match this season. That's against first place Juventus. We're 2 points behind first. We're 4 points behind, ahead of third, sorry. And also do have that game in hand, which could narrow it down to 1 point. But in saying that, I personally think we have gone through the first half of the season with only one loss, and that was against the team who are currently leading, the team who's won the last, 8 Scudetti, I think it is. So it's hard. You can't really compete when the team above you has only also lost one game, but you picked up that one extra draw. I'll start with you, Anthony. Just a couple of quick questions. We won't spend too much on this. What do you, out of 10, what do you rate Inter's performance in the first half of the season? What do you think could have changed? What was disappointing? And my third and final question is, do you think if we had a fully fit team, any of those results would have changed for us?
Oh, good questions. Very, very good questions, bro. Yes, to most of them, if not all of them. I think the disappointments lie only in the expectations where we thought we may have been ready for certain levels where we've just fallen short. So not qualifying for the round of 16 of the Champions League is the disappointment of the first half of the season for me, because I have no complaints for anything in Serie A. Every single point that we've dropped in Serie A this season, to me, has been, justified points dropped. Either we haven't turned up on the day, or, the only regrettable result for me is probably Parma, because I feel like if we focused a little more, we could have beaten Parma in Serie A. But other than that, the drop points at Juventus, the drop points to Atalanta, the drop points to Roma, these are all results that are definitely forgivable, in my opinion. We've been tucking teams away in Serie A that we would usually lose to. It started by winning away to Cagliari. Then I remember pumping Torino 3-0 at home. That was probably my favorite result of the season because of the wet weather. I hated the Barella injury. It marred it. But other than that, to go to Torino, a ground where we rarely go and perform well, and to wipe them 3-0, that really solidified my faith in Conte and the system that's going on. And again, it did fall short in the Champions League, and regrettably so. But just look at the list of the injuries that we had. And, while we were bringing on the likes of Gagliardini and Politano and Borja Valero, Barcelona were bringing on Dembele and bringing on Arturo Vidal and playing their B team, which supposedly had Vidal and Rakitic and Luis Suarez ready to come on as well, some B team. But we crashed out of the Champions League. It's regrettable because I think, after leading in a couple of the games, things could have gone our way, but you can't expect everything to go your way in a season. It never does. And right now, way more has been going our way than not. And it's just a reflection of the hard work and the changes made, not only just on the field, but, the way upper management has conducted themselves. It's not every day that a team loses their 3 most marketable, and best players in Icardi, Perisic, and Nangolan. And we have a lot more points to show for it. We have a team getting along really well to show for it. And, I'm just going to say it right now. If we fall short of the Scudetto this season by 1, 2, or 3 match days, you won't hear too many complaints out of me. Overall, first half of the season, because I really didn't expect us to pick up this many points domestically, it gets an 8 from me. And it's only those fine little margins that separate us having a really good first half of the season. Alessandro, you, man. Did I answer everything, Bruno? I don't know.
Yeah, everything was answered. But Alessandro, our rating in our first half of the season out of 10, what was your highlight and what would you have changed?
Okay, so from 1 to 10, Anthony's was A. I guess that's a 10. Yeah,
No,
pretty
8,
much the
8,
same.
like the number 8.
Oh,
The number 8.
Oh, okay. I was a little bit confused. No. Okay. Yeah, I would say 8 too. Um, I'm super happy, no complaints. If you compare to the previous season, or even if you think at the beginning of the season and now, first is Juventus, and there was no doubt. But being second at just 2 points, I would never expect that, not at this point. And the other positive thing is that so far this area is definitely more competitive than the previous one because Lazio is right there, and the beginning of the season we thought that Napoli maybe was gonna be there, and Milan, Roma, but we know what happened. So that's a little bit the disappointing side of this area. And the other big thing that I really hate so far was all the racist shit that every week or every other week is going on, and we know that it's more to do with the Italian culture, and but I still cannot believe in 2020 we still have to talk about this and trying to figure out a way for these people to understand. But it's just very frustrating, and that's the only bad thing, really bad thing of this area, this campionato so far. For if you look at our team, I'm super happy for what we're doing in Serie A. I'm super happy for how Conte is managing the team. Um, Players that just last year uh, were bad or were not performing as well this year. Everybody is contributing. Um, I think uh, just a couple of players were not able to give 100% so far. I think of Politano and Lazaro, honestly. Biraghi as well, but he's like more up and down, while Lazaro and Politano were not able to express themselves. I don't know if it's because of the kind of formation and football we were playing. Probably for Politano it's more than for Lazaro, because for what we know, Conte picked Lazaro because of the 3-5-2, and I still can't believe it, but okay. But already at the beginning of the season, I wasn't able to understand and see Politano playing as a striker. He's a winger, and not that kind of winger that can help in the defense. So it was something that I was going to expect. Um, but other than that, I have no complaints. I'm not even complaining about Champions League. Honestly, if you guys remember, I somehow was expecting us going out of the Champions League, so I didn't have any hope. And even there, we were um, almost able to make it through. So this season so far, just positive marks. Bruno? Did I answer everything?
Yeah, look, you answered everything, and I am grateful for that. Thank you. Me personally, I would rate our first half of the season out of 10, a 14. Just being an Inter fan, you get used to disappointment, and I just kept waiting. You know, we're doing so well, and I just kept waiting and waiting and waiting for the collapse, waiting for the news. And you got to think, right? Anthony mentioned it earlier. We got rid of Icardi, we got rid of Perisic, we got rid of Nainggolan. You took the heart and soul out of the team. Yeah, some things weren't working, but they were our key figures within the team, minus Skriniar and Handanovic. And you basically bring in a brand new team. Lautaro, who didn't get much time under Spalletti until the back end of last season. Lukaku, Sanchez, Barella, Sensi, Godin, Lazaro, Baraghi. It's a brand new team virtually. Even Candreva, he's playing a new position and it's brand new to him, but he is excelling in. And I just did not expect it to go as well as what it did. Champions League, I didn't have high hopes. Initially when I saw the group, I did not have high hopes. I just think the disappointing factor when it came to Champions League was the way Inter crashed out. The first round draw against Rapid Vienna. The loss to Barcelona is forgivable. We beat by Borussia Dortmund. Then we dropped a 2-0 lead to lose 3-2 by halftime. It just did not work well for Inter. And I think that was more heartbreaking than the actual fact that we did get knocked out. Overall, I am very happy with the way we've performed. Just a couple of quick facts, right? If Inter were playing in the French league, we would currently be sitting equal first with PSG, who have the likes of Neymar, Cavani, Mbappe, Icardi, who has been playing phenomenally there. If Inter were playing in the Spanish league, we would be currently first by a long shot. We'll be currently first by 6 points. And that's with Barcelona and Real Madrid in the same league. If Inter were playing in Germany, we would be currently first. Although Germany are 2 games behind us, you give 6 points to the top team, they still will not be first. And then if we're playing in Premier League, we would be second. But in saying that, Liverpool is having a ridiculous season. So basically, you compare Inter to the rest of Europe, we're doing extremely well. Yeah, the teams are different and all of that, but just points-wise, it just shows how competitive we've been this season. But before we move on to the next topic, I do know Ale has a question about this. So, Ale, what was your question?
Yeah, so both you and Anthony and me, we agreed that we had this so far amazing campeonato. But if you have to pick something we should improve, something that we should start working on and get better, what do you think will be? Bruno or Anthony, whoever wants to answer.
I'll give it to Anthony first, but that's an amazing question. I'm sorry, that's fantastic. Anyway, Anthony, I'm dumbfounded.
So something to improve on in this back season, I would say maybe getting our fitness to the point where we can squeeze out that intensity for an extra 15 minutes or so. The games that we haven't performed as well in this season have been against real high quality opponents that seem to be able to stay switched on for that extra 10 to 15 minutes, or at least they're able to pick and choose a moment in the second half to absolutely dominate us, or even in the first half. There have been matches this season against higher class opponents like Juventus, like Barcelona, and recently against Atalanta. Even when we went to Rome, there were periods of the match where we looked second best by a mile, and I would like us to get to a level where we go into the matches against teams and we know that we can dominate them no matter what, and leave there knowing that even if we don't get the 3 points, we 100% thoroughly deserve to get the 3 points. And how does that work? Time. We're in our first 6 months with the coach. It'd be different if we'd be having this conversation 2 years into his stint and I'd be like, oh, I'd like us to improve like this. No, these are all completely very viable facts to improve on after 6 months. So I just expect us to be able to take it to teams a little bit more intently towards the back end of this season. Oh, and Barella's the best player in the world. Barella's the best player in the world, and he'll continue being the best player in the world.
Okay. Relax, man. Look, honestly, with the team, there's not much I would change. You can't ask for much more from a team who's just been brought into this environment. Like Sensi, Barella, they didn't know what Champions League football was before they played and all of that. So there's nothing I would change there. What I would change is behind the scenes. I would change our medical team, our conditioning and strengthening staff, because I feel they've cost us a lot this season. They've cost us a fair few points with the treatment of our players. Asamoah was only meant to be out for 2 weeks. I don't know how many months it's been so far. Sensi was meant to be out for a month. He's gone for too long, right? You've got players like Barella, Sanchez. Sanchez's recovery was actually phenomenal for the injury he had, but a lot of the backroom staff need to improve, because I just don't find it when you're a world-class team, you're bringing a player back that one game early and it's costing that player an extra 2 months on the sideline. And I feel like that's probably breaking up Inter's momentum a lot. It's forced Conte to make a lot of moves that we haven't been happy with. We're not happy with Baraghi starting week in, week out. We're not happy with, Barella and Sensi not even being in part of the team. We're not happy for a lone player we've gotten who showed amazing signs in his 2 games he played with us, sitting on the bench for 3 months, injured. So that's probably the only thing I would change. Come to me at the end of the season and ask that question. That's where I'll start talking about players and stuff. But Ale, what would you change?
So I agree with both of you, but what I would start to focus on, and maybe this can bring to the transfer, I will focus on corner kick and free kick, because I cannot recall a goal from corner kick or from free kick this season. Maybe it's just me and my memory. I know it's not good. But if we can bring 3, 4, 5 goals in a season from free kick, corner kick, that sometimes that can mean winning a game instead of drawing a game, or drawing a game if you're losing. And if we have a player like Ericsson, for example, that can help, or if we have somebody that's able to cross a corner kick for the right, for Skriniar, for Godin, Lukaku, for all the specialists we have, maybe we can score more. And I don't think, if you're a professional soccer player, I don't think that's something impossible to ask.
Yeah, definitely. And I think we saw very good glimpses of Sensi earlier in the season, taking a couple of free kicks, hitting the post. I'm not sure if he actually got one in, but I get what you mean. And set pieces are an important part of the game. The only set piece we seem to be successful with at the moment is the penalty kick. And, that's just not good enough. I get what you mean, but it's small steps for Inter at the moment. All right, we are going to be a bit tight for time at the moment, but I'm going to fire off a couple of transfer rumours. The transfer market's remaining open for another 2 weeks, and Inter's yet to do absolutely anything. They've been linked to the likes of Ericsson, Vidal, Giroud, Marcos Alonso, and Lavezzi, Modric, and everyone else that Inter's always linked to. But it's going to be quick fire. I just want yes and a quick reason as to why and your suitable transfer fee. The first one is I'm going to start with is the one that seems to have picked up the most traction and seems to be absolutely in the makings, is Christian Eriksen. He was seen waving farewell to the Tottenham fans at their game against Liverpool on the weekend. We know he's out the door. We're looking at around 20 million for him. We could have gotten him for free at the end of the season. I don't think Conte or Marotta want to take any chances. But Anthony, yes or no? How much do you want to spend?
Oh, it's a no-brainer. Of course, it's a yes. He's one of those players perfect to unlock that midfield to attack, that role that we've been looking for and crying out for so long. Not only that, he's a player that's worth about 50, 60 million in today's market, and we're looking to get anywhere from 20 under, even closer to 10, to be honest. The salary, it's a little bit for us, but anyone who's been in the news in the last 24 hours will know that Zhang has just injected a whole bunch of funds, and there's going to be some new contracts and some new wages thrown up in the air, and that's exactly what you need for a big team like Inter. Keep the big players happy, offer them big team money so they can be big stars at a big club. Eriksen's going to be one of those players, hopefully, within the next couple of days, and if that's the case, it's a definite yes from me. So yeah, 100%, bro.
Ale, yes, and why? Yes or no, and why?
Yes, absolutely yes. For all the reasons Anthony just said. If we want to go back to be one of the best teams in Europe and in the world, we need players like that. And 20 million, I know can sound like a lot, but for that quality of a player, it's not. So definitely yes.
Perfect. All right. So we were linked to this player very early on in the season and throughout the season. It is Arturo Vidal. We sort of lost a lot of traction with it in the last couple of weeks once the transfer window did open. But Valverde, the Barcelona coach, has now been sacked. So the new coach will have his say on whether he wants him or not. Would you, Anthony, do you want him? Yes or no? And if so, how much do you want to spend?
100% I want him. He's an injection of quality that we need. At 32 years old, he's 4 times the player Vecino is, 4 times the player Gagliardini is. He's the exact kind of player that you want starting or on the bench. You bring on Vidal for 25 or 30 minutes, you could almost bring him on to take care of the midfield himself. He's still got it left in him. He comes on for Barcelona and literally wins games on his own. He starts games for Barcelona and still scores and assists. I don't know what to believe in the media in terms of whether he wants to come here or not. We hear something new every day. And, today the Barcelona coach was sacked, the same coach that has them sitting first in the league and first out of their Champions League group. So go figure. But for me, it's a no-brainer as well. And if you have to pay anywhere near 25 million, 20 to 25 million, by all means, pay the money. And, it's just a question of how quickly do we want to compete at the highest level? Do we want to challenge Juventus over the next 4 months, or are we content to challenge them next season? Signings like Vidal are the difference maker, both economically and results-wise. But yes, from me, for sure.
Ale, yes or no, and how much?
It's a yes. I'll tell you just this. Here in San Francisco, friends, co-workers I have from South America, Central America, I didn't even know they were following soccer, and they asked me, "Are you into supporting?" Right? And I was like, "Yes." Oh, Vidal, the king, is coming to your team. Are you happy? So it may sound stupid, but Vidal is still a huge player, especially here on this side of the world, and I'm pretty sure. I mean, it's still in Europe, and so definitely yes, for the right price though. Not gonna go crazy for 32 years old. But if the number I've read are correct, yes, absolutely yes.
Perfect. Look, I cannot say no to another midfielder especially with the woes and struggles Inter's had in the first half of the season with midfielders. Price is an issue. 20 to 25 million is probably what I would offer. If we can get him for that price, I reckon it's a bargain. I reckon we will have our team set in stone. Even if we don't win the Scudetto this year, we'll be in a very good position to compete in all competitions next season. And I think with Conte, it's not a one-year plan. He's not expected to win the Scudetto so quickly. He's not expected to, win the Champions League or anything like that in his first season, but he's done so well. Olivier Giroud, World Cup winner in 2018. Still in the French squad. He's been linked to Inter as well as a backup striker. His only point is he wants game time, and that could be the do or die for Inter. Ale, I'll start with you on this one. Do you want him at the club? If so, why and how much?
I don't know. I'm not. Let's just say it's not one of my favorite player, but we definitely need another striker. Maybe for the right price, if the price is really low, or if it's a loan. I forgot to say Vidal plus Conte. That's another very strong reason for a yes. So maybe Giroud plus Conte. That's a good reason. But I don't know. I'm not. I'm like 50-50. Let's just say 50-50.
Yeah. Anthony, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I'll take him, but I share the same reservations as Alessandro. At the same time, if we get him, great, provided that we strengthen that midfield position by one or two players and, find a decent replacement at wing-back. I'll let you go through the rumours. I won't ruin it. But that Giroud would be one of my third, maybe fourth options on the list as the perfect vice Lukaku. I almost want Esposito over Giroud, but at the same time, that's not a mature decision to make in January. You're one bad injury away from banking on a 17-year-old, and that's not right, especially in Europa League when you have to play matches on a Thursday night. Giroud, I would say, was one of the best players in last year's Europa League. He scored goals at crucial points, and he won it last season. Could be another incentive as to why we're looking at him. And for the price, I've seen Inter's revenue. 5 to 7 million is absolute candy money. So, yeah, I'll take it. I'll say yes to Giroud as well.
Yeah, look, I'm not sold on Giroud as being a starting player, but as a backup, he's got the experience of winning a World Cup, Europa League. He's a player who, at this current point in time, is playing for his spot in the national team for the upcoming Euros, and he wants to be there. So I have a feeling if we do get him, he will play his heart out. I don't want to bank too much money on him, but like Anthony said, 5 to 7, even 9 million, it's pocket money with the way Inter's going at the moment. But you can't bank. You can't put a price on experience, and he's been there. He's done it all. He's lifted the most prized icon in football, the World Cup. And it's not like he didn't do anything in that team at all. So I wouldn't mind that. There are a couple of other rumours, but there is one that just flourished following the most latest match day, and that is Politano to go to Roma for Spinazzola. Straight swap in that front. I'm thinking they want to replace what has hampered their season in the injury of Zaniolo, former Inter player himself, tore his ACL. But I'll start off with this one. I think this is a fantastic move. Politano, he was made permanent by Inter prior to Conte arriving. And I can't take away for what he has done for Inter in the last season he was there. I just feel Conte does not have room for him in this squad. He's not the Candreva who can run up the field, put that cross in, run back, defend. And he's not a striker like Conte's been playing. Spinazzola, on the other hand, I would take with open arms. I just feel he would be that extra reinforcement that Inter's been looking for in that back line, and not having to lay out a cent for that, I can't complain with that. Anthony, I know you're about to mention this very early on, but what do you think? I'm sure you would agree, but what's your pros, what's your cons?
For Spinazzola, he's a position that we need straight away. He's Italian. He fits Conte's system. He can defend. He's good on the attacking front. This is the kind of wingback you want to be linked with. I don't feel like he's happy being bounced around a little bit from Juventus Roma, his exchange there, but he could settle, and we're building a good Italian core. I see no reason why he wouldn't want to come here. I think he'd get the field time he wants. And, he's the right age and everything. He's a lot better than the rumor of Ashley Young. And at the end of the day, the Politano side of things, it's not ideal that we have to let him go because he's a decent squad player and a bench player. But I've said this before, he's a little bit of a one-trick pony. And if you can't do it as good as Ian Robin can, then you're going to get found out, more times than Ian Robin did. So Matteo Politano, while Antonio Conte is our coach, doesn't have a starting role, and therefore it's a salary wasted and a salary way better spent on a left wing back like Spinazzola. Get him in, and that transfer would be on the top of my list after we close out Ericsson.
And Ale, your thoughts?
If it's a straight loan, yes. And I remember Spinazzola playing for Piemonte Calcio, and I remember a game in Champions League where Spinazzola was probably the man of the match. It was amazing, and if we're able to play Spinazzola at that level, Conte should do pretty good with that kind of player like Allegri was able to. While now at Roma, they prefer to keep Kolarov on the left, also because can help with free kick and corner kicks, and on the right they decide to play with Florenzi most of the time. So it doesn't have so much space. And it's in the same kind of situation as Politano is for us. So this can be a win-win for Roma and for us. I think the evaluation of the players is also pretty much the same. So if it's not a loan, but just swap a player for the same amount, that can be a solution too. I'm just worried that after Biraghi, we bring in Spinazzola. If it doesn't work, then we're stuck with two left back. They're not at a good level. So I don't know. I'm like 85% yes. But I would prefer a loan rather than swap a player.
Yeah, look, I can see where you're both coming from, and I just think with Asamoah being the age he is, one, two, as injury prone as what he is, Biraghi hasn't fulfilled the expectations of fans, let alone Conte. So that is that. Now, one final question. It has been asked on not just Inter forums, but in forums across the globe. Any player, now let's be realistic, we're not talking Messi or anything like that, but any player that you could bring to Inter to strengthen in any position, who would it be? Why? We'll go to you, Ale. What is it?
Wait. Say it again.
So any player you could bring to Inter this transfer window, and why? Not restricted to just Serie A. We're not restricted to just Europe.
Okay, define realistic, like a budget.
No.
Like I can go for, I don't know, Aguero.
I can see our imagination's gone way off skew here, and we could mention any player under the sun. How about this one? You have to get rid of one player from Inter. Who it is and why?
Okay. So I don't know how this can be realistic, but I would say this player for a couple of reasons. I would um, I would give I would keep Sensi, Brozovic, and Barella. I would actually even let's do this. I would give Brozovic for De Bruyne any day. And it's just because I just remember De Bruyne was like joking with Lukaku on Twitter or Instagram. I don't remember something like Lukaku was commenting an assist he did, and De Bruyne answered like, "Get ready for this summer." And a lot of Inter supporters was like, "Oh my God, it's coming! It's coming!" Of course, it was talking about the Euro Cup. Um, but
And
it
Inter
would
don't
be
have a spare
amazing.
300 million.
Say again?
Inter don't have a spare 300 million at the moment. That's all.
Oh, I know. But I don't know. Maybe they like Brozovic and they give us a discount because you're nice. No, I'm kidding. I'm
Fair
kidding.
enough. Anthony, who do you want to get rid of? Why? And who do you want him to replace?
I'm going to go with the context that someone you have to get rid of is someone that still holds a decent market value. And for that reason, I like the fact that players like Vecino still appeal to the physicality and the high tempo of the Premier League. And I think while we've got that card to play with a player like Vecino, we should bank in on every chance we should get. That's why I was really excited when the rumors were a Vecino straight swap for Eriksen. That would have been pretty much a dream swap for me. Because we're linked with Eriksen, I don't think I'll use him for this example. I would use N'Golo Kante for the most obvious reasons in the world. He would basically make the back three look even better than they do now. He would make every midfielder look better than they do now, and we'd concede less goals and have more opportunities moving forward on a counter attack. I think N'Golo Kante would actually be the midfielder that could actually unlock a scary amount of potential in this team, but it's never, ever, ever seemed realistic to me from the get-go. But hey, while we're having a little bit of a fantasy chat, I reckon you swap Vecino for Kante, and all of a sudden, you go from great to phenomenal.
Oh, well, that again, De Bruyne and Kante in the same team with Lukaku up front sounds fantastic. I'm going to be a bit more realistic here. Get rid of Gabigol. He's done. He's not coming back. Let's bank in on him and his performances at Flamengo. If we can get 25 to 30 mil like we were linked to West Ham, I would take that any of the day of the week, even 20 mil being linked back to Flamengo. Why not? We're not going to use him. He is an Inter player. Let's bank in on him. He's young. He didn't play well for us, and he's played phenomenally in Brazil. Let's make the most of that. I would replace him with a player who is, in fact, a free agent at the end of this season, and that is David Silva, who will pair up fantastically with De Bruyne and with N'Golo Kante. So that is my change. I would take him. More realistic, but I like where you guys are going. I would like to say thank you, Ale, for joining us at this late hour in San Francisco.
Thank you guys. Always a pleasure.
And Anthony, always a pleasure. Thank you for allowing me to host this edition of the Inter Podcast.
Bro, let's do this more often. This was the most relaxing podcast ever. I liked it.
And thank you to the fans from all of us here at Inter Worldwide. If you have any questions you'd like us to address on this podcast, leave a comment below. And we thank you all. Forza Inter Worldwide. Ciao ragazzi.
Ciao ragazzi, grazie.